Assalamu alaikum.
I think we're straight now. So you co-hosted, and I pray
Yeah.
all is well with you and everyone. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We'll carry on the tradition, staying on the mission, and now we're gonna give you this edition. I'm a poet,
Hey,
but y'all didn't know it. All right, here we go. How you
Alhamdulillah.
doing, young man?
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. I'm doing well. It's always
Good,
good
good,
to be here in the morning
good,
with you
good.
all.
How'd your session go with the youngsters yesterday?
It was good this entire week. So Tuesday through Friday, I probably saw close to 600 Black students this week.
All
Tuesday,
right.
I had two schools. Wednesday, I was at one school all day. About 150 students that day. Thursday, I was at one school all day. We had We're supposed to have around 250 students. And then yesterday we had another maybe 50 to 60 students.
All right,
So it was
fantastic.
good. It was good. And it was good for us to have the Black program space for those students because some of them, especially some of the middle school and high school students, they were talking quite a bit about, their feelings regarding the election. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
feeling
Yeah,
anxious, nervous, scared.
yeah.
So having a place where we could be grounded, having a place where we can look at ourselves, look at our
Mm.
history was really, really important.
Yeah, Allahu Akbar. Glad Allah had you there. I'm gonna step back and it's all on you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to brothers and sisters who are here. And alhamdulillah, I'll tell something real quick. A sister that I know who actually served um, as a doula for my wife when my daughter Medium was born. So my daughter was born February 1st, 2022. Uh, Her name is Shannon, Sister Shannon. She sent me a text message, I think maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, and she was saying how she came across these Rise videos, and she's been watching them, of course, enjoying everything that Imam Fahim has been sharing. She was like, I didn't know you were doing this thing with Imam Fahim. So I'm doing that. It was great to hear that the message is circulating. I see sometimes people were watching it on YouTube, watching it on Facebook, all the other places. So it's just really special what has been created here. And again, I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity to be a part of it as a student and then to contribute some of what I've been working on in community with, young folks and just the community in general. So Bismillah, we'll get started.
Alhamdulillah.
We are supposed to be wrapping up the Black Panther Party last week, but I failed to finalize the last part of what needs to be discussed. So I need a few more minutes and then we'll prepare for the next thing that we're going to do as we finish out the book, Carry On Tradition, which is the tradition of Amilcar Cabral. But with the Black Panther Party, what I did not get a chance to do was speak to the political, the philosophical, and the ideological evolution. And then there are a couple other elements that I wanted to add. So in the book, Carry On Tradition, when we start the tradition of the Black Panther Party, we begin here. And it, October 15th, 1966, but Huey says the party began in that first moment when our ancestors were forcibly stolen from their homeland. That's the spirit that gave birth to the Black Panther Party. And then, of course, Huey was a student of our history. And it's really, really important for us to put the proper respect on him, on the Black Panther Party. And that doesn't mean that we romanticize where they made missteps. We got to be aware of that and be honest about that, where they were extremely solid and principled and on point. We acknowledge and we accept that as well. And from this very, very humble beginning, but a beginning that was rooted in tradition of our people. So much came from it. so much positive came from it that is still reverberating in the present moment, even though there is no such thing as the Black Panther Party, which is different than what we are all participating in right now. So you have the nation, which begins in the early 20th century, and you have evolutionary steps of that, and we're still here. And we're here in multiple parts of the country. In the ways that we have evolved in our understanding and in our practice. The Black Panther Party, like if you want to be as um, easy as possible with their timeline, 1966, you could say, to 1981, 15-year span. But in that 15 years, it was so impactful that we still feel the power of it today. Okay, so what we're going to do is concentrate on more of this legacy part. So I'm going to go to my slides and I'm going to get the slides up. And I'm going to recap just a little bit of what we've done before, but get into the main piece. So last week we reintroduced this concept, and we reintroduced it on the back of Booker T. Washington, the Tuskegee Institute. We introduced the historical fact that Sister Elaine, so Elaine Brown, the only woman that led the Black Panther Party, that her grandfather worked with Booker T. Washington. Let me make sure that this is off real quick. Oh, all right. So that he worked with Booker T. Washington. So just in that, like there's a familial connection with that history of old to the emergence and the expansion of the Black Panther Party. So her grandfather's name was Emmett T. Scott. And I know that because I've worked closely with Sister Elaine. I was with her at her home when she started to get more information about the history of her grandfather. And she helped write the foreword for the biography that was recently published on him. So I had a chance to see that stuff up close and personal, hear her talk about that, hear her talk about the relationship that she had with her father, who was around, was kind of in her life, but she was raised by her mother in Philadelphia. So there's that type of connection. And then, of course, the UNIA and the example of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the example of the UNIA, the example of the Nation of Islam, the example of Malcolm, the example of so many Black organizations and Black leaders. Huey studied that. Bobby studied that. But it was Huey who, as Bobby says, it's impossible to talk about the Black Panther Party without first talking about Huey P. Newton, because Brother Huey put it all into motion. Huey synthesized all that and said, this is what we're going to do in our party. And we use this last time as well. When you look at the 10-point platform and program and you look at what the Muslims want, which was a foundational element that you would find in Muhammad Speaks, and you'll still find it in the Final Call. So much similarity between those because Huey was studying his community. And then we talked a lot about how it was young folks who led the charge of the Black Panther Party. So this is little Bobby Hutton. In this image right here, there's a picture that's taken downtown Oakland, 6th, 7th, and Broadway, right in front of the jail right there. In the reflection of the picture, you can see the 880 freeway in the back. Right, this happened here, which is some of y'all might be outside of Oakland or outside of the Bay Area that are watching, but we're here in Oakland, here in the Bay Area. It happened on this soil, which I think is so profound. And it spreads. It spread despite the fact that the government tried to destroy it. This is another thing that we highlighted last week, which is the way that our history, our tradition inspired other generations, especially the generation of the Black Panther Party, and they carried that tradition on. The importance of controlling the way that you tell your story, you put your information out to the people. So the first one is the Negro World. This comes from the UNIA and Marcus Garvey. Then we have, of course, Muhammad Speaks. And then we have all the different iterations of that up until the present moment. And then we have the Black Panther. The Intercommunal News Service was the final name of what it is, or of what it was. And I think its last publication may have been in 1980 or 1981. But this is that same tradition. And this is a tradition that precedes the Negro World and Muhammad Speaks and the Black Panther. I mentioned it last time, Frederick Douglass, the North Star. Like, we have a tradition of, in our community, we have to control the way that we get the information to our people. Instead of being reliant on them, and many of us earlier this week, those news outlets that were responsible for talking about this election, they're not us. They're not like us. They're not about what we are about, but we have to rely on them to get that information. So then the Black Panther Party, its very first year, before it became a year old, California had to change laws in order to try to deprive power from the Black Panther Party because it was strategically using laws to its benefit. The fact that you could legally carry weapons in 1966 and in early 1967, the Black Panther Party exploited that to stop police brutality in their communities. So California said, nope, we're just going to change the rule. We're just going to change the law. And that was a testament to the organizing, strategic brilliance of these young folks in these pictures. Like, some of these folks, especially if y'all were here, these might have been some of your friends or your folks that you were acquainted with. This was powerful. And their power was felt almost overnight. October 1966, by July of 1967, the governor of California is signing a new law that is completely focused on trying to take power away from the Black Panther Party. And Huey, because Huey was a very, very intelligent young man, this was something that he was already prepared for. He knew. He said, all right, the pigs are going to go after the gun. That's the way that he described it. So we got to be prepared for what our next step is. So when they go after that, we're not done because we haven't achieved the goal of fighting for the freedom and the liberation of our people. We just move on to the next thing that we're going to do in our organization strategy. They, of course, attempt to take Huey out. John Frey. This is on 7th Street in West Oakland. Huey survives. Huey's put on trial 3 times for the murder of a white police officer. And in 1970, all charges are dismissed because their case was extremely flimsy. They tried to curate evidence, falsify evidence, and it was just clear time and time again that he wasn't out there acting with a malicious intent to try to kill a police officer. Self-defense is very different than I'm out here trying to gun somebody down. All charges dismissed August of 1970. And by that time, because Huey was born in 42, so Huey's he's 28. He's 28 in August of 1970. Some of the other very important figures and leaders as the Black Panther Party spreads. So with any of our organizations like this, when they start in one particular location, but then their influence grows, and then other folks in our community are inspired by what folks did in that one particular location, and they're like, we need to do this too. So one of the first major chapters outside of the Oakland chapter is in Los Angeles. Our Princess Bunchy Carter, we talked about him a little bit last week, who was a member of the nation. So he had a very strong, like, Islamic and Muslim foundation, and that played into his leadership. And then you have John Huggins, you have Erica Huggins, husband and wife, and then you have Sister Elaine, who from Philadelphia comes to Los Angeles and then joins the party in April of 1968. Then we have the attack by the federal government. So you have local government, you got state government, you have the federal government focused on dismantling the Black Panther Party. Quick recap of this memo: March 4th, 1968, COINTELPRO. So 5 major points: prevent the coalition of militant Black nationalist groups, that's their language. The federal government, in its own words, is saying if Black people come together, Black organizations come together, especially with a political, social, ideological, philosophical understanding of empowerment, of freedom and liberation, that can be the first step towards the beginning of a true Black revolution. That's what it says in here. And this is something that the federal government of the United States has been terrified of since it formulated itself in 1787, 1789, 1791, 1787, the draft of the Constitution, 1789, the ratification of the Constitution, 1791, the addition of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And the Second Amendment is a direct reflection of that because that is the right to bear arms. And that right to bear arms has been a right that's mainly been given to white men, but of course also associated with white women to protect themselves from a true Black revolution or to protect themselves from a true Native and Indigenous revolution. They've been on that. They've been afraid of this. And so in 1968, when they're saying this, it's just a continuation of their tradition of how they want to continue holding on to their power. So identify the greatest threat and try to take it out. So their first strategic move in that is keep them divided. Second, prevent the rise of a messiah who can unify and electrify the militant Black nationalist movement. Malcolm X might have been such a messiah. He's the martyr of the movement today. Malcolm became Shaheed. He was martyred in 65, February 65. This is March of 68. So this is 3 years after, and they're still trembling off of the example of Malcolm. Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad all aspire to this position. Honorable Elijah Muhammad is less of a threat because of his age. King could be a very real contender for this position should he abandon his supposed obedience to white liberal doctrines, nonviolence, and embrace Black nationalism. Carmichael has the necessary charisma to be a real threat in this way. So they identify our community, leaders in our community, have an assessment of them, and then have a plan in place for each one of them. The plan in place for Dr. King was, this memo came out March 4th, 1968. A month later, April 4th, 1968, Dr. King assassinated on a motel balcony in Memphis, Tennessee. Prevent violence. Basically, they're saying prevent these people from acting in accordance to their goals of the freedom and the liberation of their people. And then if we need to, in the very last line here, they talk about pinpoint potential troublemakers and neutralize them before they exercise their potential for violence. This concept, like I'm bringing this up because we're going to see how the federal government used this neutralization tactic so often with the Black Panther Party. Point 4, prevent them from gaining respectability. And this is something that I think probably all of us have dealt with when looking at our history, especially when looking at the history of the Black Panther Party. So we can't have the responsible Negro community looking at these leaders or any of these organizations with an eye of, we respect them. The second part, second, they must be discredited to the white community. You can't have white folks looking at any of these leaders or any of these communities with an eye of respectability. And then the third part, these groups must be discredited in the eyes of Negro radicals. So we're the Negro radicals, mainly young people, and other Black folks who are like, yeah, we believe in this. We want to carry this on. So they're like, we got to discredit them, these organizations and leaders, to that group in a different way. You got to come up with tactics for that. This is all the federal playbook. This is them. These are their documents. I can show you right now if you wanted to. I can go to, matter of fact, I'm going to do this later on because when I pass it back to Imam Fahim, what I'll do is I'll drop in the chat, and Imam Fahim, let me know if you want me to do this. The link on the FBI website, because
Yes, do it.
Okay, for sure, I'll do that. So due to the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, there are a number of documents that have had to be declassified, but you'll see a whole bunch of stuff that's redacted in those documents. I can put the link in our chat that will show you vault.fbi.gov. You don't get a .gov URL unless it comes from the federal government or it comes from a state government agency. And I can show you where this stuff is. I mean, you can even go in there and you can look up what it has on the Nation of Islam, what it has on the leaders of the nation, all of that stuff. I mean, there's so much information in there, and it's just there. So this comes from them. This is their playbook. And then the next point that they had, which was the fifth point and the final point in this document, a final goal should be to prevent the long-range growth of militant Black organizations, especially among youth. Specific tactics to prevent these groups from converting young people must be developed. This is what my generation, I may have mentioned this last time as well. So your children, this is what we faced. Your children who you were raising in the 70s or giving birth to in the 70s, late 70s, 80s. This was what the federal government had in mind for us, for our generation. And we still haven't recovered from that, especially because some of these groups and organizations that were providing that buffer and that protection for our community had to reconfigure, reformat, or are no longer here. And then 1968 going into 1969, the federal government says that the Black Panther Party is the greatest threat to the internal security of the United States, not because they have guns, but because they have butter, because they're cooking food for children before they go to school. And that's not hyperbole. They said the free breakfast for children program represents the greatest threat to the internal security of the United States because it does this. It provides the respectability. And not only does it provide the respectability, it's also making sure that young people are inspired by these ideals. And I'm gonna make one other quick point real quick. I'm gonna go back to this point. I had a teacher who I truly respect in the Islamic tradition. His family was from Philistine, from Palestine originally. And I learned a great deal from him. Alhamdulillah, I've had some teachers and I've learned a tremendous amount about this faith, this path, and this tradition of ours. Alhamdulillah. He was somebody who he wanted to bring a critique to me of my work. My first album, so I did a lot of music. So my first solo album that I recorded, I gave it the name Ghetto Messiah. Not because I was claiming to be a Messiah of the ghetto or a Messiah of the slums. I gave it the name Ghetto Messiah because of this, because there is a deep-seated fear in the government of this country of authentic Black radical leadership that can unify our community and move them in a direction of freedom and liberation that can change the power structure in this country and in this world. So I wanted to take their language and put their language back in their face and let them know that y'all haven't been successful. We're still going to produce these leaders in our community and these organizations that are going to shake y'all throne down. And for him, coming from a different context, you know, he was not raised here. He was like, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't title your project that. And then he was breaking down the concept of Masiha in Arabic, the etymology and all this. And I listened, I definitely learned, but at the end of the conversation, I said, I disagree. So you don't understand this place. You don't understand the importance of what our people have done here. And you don't understand the importance of our language and how we use our language as a weapon of organization, of education, and of resistance. And this is not being disrespectful of the understanding of Masiha and of Isa alayhi salam in our tradition. It's not. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. And if you can't see the difference between those things, I'm trying to help you, but I can't. And I'm using that as an example for what we're doing here. In this place, like Allah has put us here for whatever reason. We see in carry on tradition and just in our history, this stuff goes back to the 15th century. The first thing that's in carry on tradition in this book is the year 1441. Our people been here. Our people have been resisting. Our people have been building community. Our people have been living. Our people have been thriving to the best of our ability in the Western Hemisphere for almost 600 years. You got some other people who just coming here. Y'all need to follow our leadership. Y'all need to follow our example and our understanding. And I respect the brother. He didn't get it. He didn't know it. Maybe his understanding has changed now, but this is also part of the reason why what we're dealing with as a result of election day, and Imam Fahim has spoken to it eloquently. It don't matter who's in that position of power. We've been through all of this with all of them. Whoever it's been very similar for our people. But that's why what we do, how we do it, especially how we lead in our community, how we organize our community is so important. And so some of them just need to sit down, be quiet, listen, learn, and follow. So yeah, I wanted to bring that. And then moving forward, the attack. I mean, they try to knock these brothers and sisters down. Bunchy assassinated, John Huggins assassinated January 17th, 1969 at UCLA. Ronald Karenga, who's now known as Maulana Karenga, is associated in this episode because he was the leader of the organization where the two men who pulled the triggers responsible for killing Bunchy Carter and John Huggins, they came from his organization. And so there's this idea that, and from the perspective of the Black Panther Party, that he was an agent of the federal government. That's the information that I was raised up on, and it's an example of that first point in the May 4th, 1968 memo. Prevent coalition. Keep these groups separated. You keep groups fighting against each other instead of being focused on a true goal of freedom and liberation. And then it also reflects the second point, which is prevent the rise of a Messiah who can unify and electrify. One way that you prevent the rise of a Messiah is you handpick their leaders for them and you control their leaders. Fred Hampton, Mark Clark, Chicago chapter, December 4th, 1969. These brothers gunned down in cold blood. Another FBI informant, William O'Neill, giving all this information to the Chicago PD and to the FBI where Fred Hampton is at. This is every square foot of his apartment. This is where he sleeps. You can see it on the diagram in the middle. There's a part that says Hampton's bedroom. Next to that is even the chair that's across from his bed. That's how detailed these people were. And they went in there and they murdered this brother. Fired so many rounds into this brother's body to make sure that a 20-year-old man would not be able to continue leading the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party. The SWAT team, Special Weapons and Tactics, the very first time that it was formulated and deployed was in Los Angeles to try to destroy the LA chapter of the Black Panther Party, located at 41st and Central. Multiple members of the Black Panther Party in 1969 destroyed, eliminated, neutralized, assassinated, and all throughout this country. They did more than just that. They locked up a number of brothers and sisters as well. Chip Fitzgerald, who was one of the longest serving political prisoners ever in the history of the United States. They put charges up on Bobby and Sister Erica Huggins. We got Bobby Seale, who in the case that they had against him, they bound and gagged him in the court. Free the New York 21. You have Brother Eddie Conway, who was locked up for multiple decades. And one of our dear brothers, Brother Imam Jamil Alameen, he's still locked up for something that he did not do since 99, 2000. And Imam Jamil left SNCC and became a member of the Black Panther Party. And then when he finished his time with the Black Panther Party, established his community in Atlanta, leading brothers and sisters down there. These are some of the other folks who haven't been discussed thus far. So we already saw Fred Hampton, top middle, Comrade George Jackson, who was assassinated at San Quentin State Prison. Then you have David Hilliard, top right. Bottom left, you have Emory Douglas, responsible for so much of the imagery that we know and we think of when we see the Black Panther Party. And then you have the Cleavers, the bottom right. All folks who are part of the Black Panther Party, although Eldridge is somebody who, as his years with the party and then out of the party went on, folks don't like to speak about Eldridge as much because they feel that he betrayed the Black Panther Party. And there were some things that he did that were very diabolical. And then we have some of the sisters, powerful sisters and leaders. Sister Tarika Lewis, top left, Sister Elaine Brown in the middle, Sister Erica Huggins, top right, and then just sisters because there were so many sisters in the party. Legacy of the party. What they did inspired so many other folks. The Brown Berets that formed in Los Angeles, they formed themselves based on the example of the Black Panther Party. The Young Lords, Puerto Ricans in Chicago and New York, they formed themselves based on the example of the Black Panther Party. American Indian movement is a strong ally and partner with the Black Panther Party. The Young Patriots, these are white folks that were from Appalachia, and they were in Chicago under the leadership of Fred Hampton. SDS, these were students at school, Students for Democratic Society. They followed the leadership of the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party allied with folks who were part of the early LGBTQ community. They stood up for people with disabilities. They stood up for Chinese folks that were in this group called the Red Guard, modeled after the Black Panther Party. They stood with Cesar Chavez, the farm workers, SNCC. They stood allied with the North Koreans and with the North Vietnamese. They spent time in Korea and in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. They were allies with China, People's Republic of Congo, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. So if the Black Panther Party was around today and they were talking about what was happening today, they would be very strong in their work and in their critique of the state of Israel. The July 26th movement, they allied with the brothers and sisters in Cuba who fought for their liberation. There's a picture of some of the work from the Rainbow Coalition. And now, theory and ideology of the Black Panther Party, because they did work, but they did work because they were thinking. Young folks who were thinking, this is what we need to do for our people. So one of their theoretical and ideological statements was this concept of survival pending revolution. They said revolution is necessary. If our people are not strong enough to engage in revolution right now, then what do we need to do in this present moment? We need to survive. We need to survive so we can get stronger, so we can engage in a revolutionary struggle, whatever that revolutionary struggle is going to look like. It could be an armed struggle. It could be some other type of protracted social, cultural, political struggle. Whatever it's going to be is what it's going to be. But we need to survive and get stronger so we're ready. And so this philosophy drove a lot of their work. What did that work look like? All of these were called survival programs because of this idea of survival pending revolution. So the free breakfast for children program, survival program. Their health clinics, survival programs. You can't get to the hospital, we're going to make clinics in the community that you can get good medical care from. The community schools, survival programs. You need clothing, we'll make clothing. You need shoes, we'll manufacture shoes. Plumbing, maintenance, something's wrong in your house, we can do some work for y'all. We need homes, cooperative housing, we'll do that. Ambulance service, optometry service, dental program, sickle cell, cooperative housing, free busing, and the SAFE program, which was a program that was for elder folks in our community so they can just walk through the community safely. So there would be young folks, members of the party who would be out there in the community late night. Okay, Sister Jones, Miss Jones, you just finished work and you trying to get home? Are we gonna make sure that somebody walks with you to make sure that you get home safe? And this is just a snapshot. There was more than this that they did. But these were all considered survival programs because the philosophy was survival pending revolution. We need to keep our people safe, alive, help them get stronger, so then we can engage in that revolutionary struggle. Another major ideological and theoretical point was this concept of serve the people, body, and soul. So although the Black Panther Party itself didn't associate itself with an overt religious philosophy, they definitely were driven by sound religious and prophetic principles. We serve the people, body and soul. Serve their body, serve their soul. We love our people. The description of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as rahmat al-alameen, as a mercy to mankind. The Black Panther Party was a mercy to our community. Y'all don't have food, we're gonna feed you. You sick, we're gonna visit you. You need clothing, we're gonna provide clothing for you. And we're not gonna ask you to do anything in return because we love you. And this is another guiding point of the leader of the Black Panther Party, Huey P. Newton. He would quote the brother Che Guevara, who said, a revolutionary is guided by deep sentiments or deep feelings of love. We do what we do because we love our people. We're not trying to be thugs and military gangsters and violent folks for the sake of that. No, we're standing up for our people because we love ourselves and we love our people. Now, these other folks who are trying to dominate the world, their intentions or their inclination seems to be they love themselves and they love money and they love fame, they love power more so than they love anything else. It's different when you love yourself. It's different when you love your people. It's different when you love your creator and you want for your brothers and sisters what you want for yourself. So serving the people, body and soul was one of the ideological philosophies of the Black Panther Party, and it drove the work that they did. And you can see it in the work. Then when we get into this last part here, they evolved in their thinking. So 1966, Huey P. Newton would describe the Black Panther Party as a Black nationalist organization. And then he realized, nah, that's not right for the way that the world is moving. So then they evolved from that into revolutionary socialism. And then he's like, nah, that's okay. That might have worked for that time, but the world is changing. It's different. So then he expands the philosophy to internationalism. We got to understand ourselves, not just here in Oakland, not just in the Bay Area, not just in California, not just in the United States, internationally. And that's why you see they were in Korea, they were in Vietnam, they were in the Congo, they were in all these different places because they're seeing themselves as part of this larger world. And then the next evolutionary step and the final political evolutionary step is this idea of intercommunalism or revolutionary intercommunalism, which is arguably one of the most important political, philosophical ideas that came out of the 20th century. And it came from this young brother. Huey was 28 at the time when he coined the term intercommunalism and then revolutionary intercommunalism as he expanded his thoughts on that. And it rings true today. You have corporations that have dominated so much of what is taking place in our world. Those corporations don't care what flag you have up, what nation state you represent. They care about your money being in their bank. They care about your money purchasing their products, goods, and services. So if Juneteenth is a holiday now, we'll sell you some Juneteenth stuff. You want a Juneteenth screensaver? You want some Juneteenth shoes? You want a Juneteenth beanie? All right, as long as we get the money from it, we don't care. Pay us. Give us our money. Oh, you want to celebrate something else now? It's cool for us to celebrate Malcolm X as a hero. We'll give you some Malcolm X stuff. Whatever it is, it's going to get you to buy our goods and services. We're willing to do that. And it doesn't matter where you're at, who you are. And then because they accumulate so much power through that wealth, we'll manipulate those governments that are in those places. So he says we are interrelated communities all throughout the world. The concept of nation state, it's still here, but it's passe because these corporations, they jump across those lines anytime they want to. And then they can take advantage of who's ever in those political positions of power because they have so much wealth behind them. So we said we need to see ourselves and bring our communities together, and through our communities globally, wage a revolutionary struggle that's going to lead to the freedom and the liberation of our people and get this exploiting power of this racist, rapacious capitalism off of our backs. Powerful, powerful. But because Huey has been discredited based on the FBI and the federal government tactics, people just look at him as a thug. They don't see the genius behind him, but we have to be able to see that. And again, we don't romanticize. Where there was good, we recognize that. Where there were places where missteps were made, we got to see that as well. And then finishing it out, because of the attack of the federal government, the Black Panther Party was like, we can't be spread out like we were. We got to bring everybody to one place so we can see who everybody is, because there were informants all throughout the Black Panther Party. So they consolidate to Oakland. And in that consolidation, Part of the leadership, well, the leadership was then passed to Sister Elaine. Elaine talking about Oakland. Oakland is the birthplace of this party. Oakland will be the birthplace of revolution in the United States. Powerful statement, like here. And then they took action until they were no more. But their revolutionary legacy is still with us. They're a true example of the power of the people, especially the power of young people. They're a movement led by the brothers and sisters from the block, the lumpen proletariat in Marxist terms, lasting social change through a variety of implemented social programs, alliances with diverse groups throughout the world, continuous analysis and evolution in theory and practice. Women held major positions of leadership in the BPP. The Black Panther Party still serves as an example of organizing and resistance. With that, that's a sound fit end to the conversation around the Black Panther Party. Young folks who are part of this tradition of righteous resistance and righteous rebellion, who prepared themselves to the best of their ability, who faced the greatest military power possibly in human history, at least in the 20th century, went toe to toe with it. They didn't buckle, and they created major change. And their example still terrifies those who are in positions of power to this day and still inspires folks in our community. That's why our tradition is beautiful, especially when we hold on to it and we carry it forward. So next week, inshallah, Amilcar Cabral. So Imam Fahim, thank you.
Alhamdulillah, and thank you. Alhamdulillah. So rich, so much to say. I'm gonna separate real quick to get on with my piece. But I have to say it should not be missed. Have you ever seen that piece, Bastards of the Party?
Definitely.
Okay, so that's something people need to get that, because it's critical. Because when you link the COINTELPRO with, it's like it all there's almost a seamless, no, not almost, there's actually a seamless intergenerational life of those who want to maintain the oppression and maintain the status, and those who are fighting against it. It is truly an intergenerational link. This, like, it has never stopped. And you said this. And so what we're fighting for has never stopped. It's happening right there. And one of the other aspects of it, just to cover that you can see what was displaced, what replaced, all those strategies that you pointed out, COINTELPRO, and said, we got to stop this, we got to stop that, we got to stop that, we got to neutralize this, neutralize that, neutralize that. We got to make sure this don't happen, that don't happen, that don't happen. So it's like you say, it's the playbook. The playbook is right there, and they speak about very specifically things that they deem to be bad for themselves, which are specifically things that are good for the ones that they're trying to stop from getting there. Oh, they want to have some money, so we got to make sure they don't get no money. Or they want to eat in the morning, but we got to make sure they don't eat in the morning, right? The opposing of all the good things for the oppressed, quote unquote, are the bad things from the perspective of the oppressor. Is a horrible thing. And another, but glaring, diabolic reality, all those assassinations, you see it being repeated on the global scale in the Middle East right now. It's like right now, okay, we killed the top leader, we killed the second top leader, they killed the leader of this and the leader of that, because they represent a threat to the kingdom, if you will, that they want to have. So this whole strategy, okay, well, if we can't buy them, whatever, get them, if we can't neutralize them in whatever other kind of way, we just go in and we assassinate them. That's it. And so when you think about the Chicago piece, I know I got to get on with my own business, but this is our business, right? With the Chicago piece, I'm just hit some names that some people No, well, I don't really need to hit the name. Just gangs in Chicago. Let's just say gangs in Chicago. So when you talk about when you talk about the bastards of the party, I don't know where it can be found right now. But when you look at the bastards of the party and you look at the migration from the South and other places that come out here to the West, and then you look at the you can call it the Balkanization or it's all literally you can say the Palestinianization of South Central LA, where gangs actually get used in this new strategy. They get used to control the other population, the population that's not in the gangs and that's just want to just live and be free, etc. That creature was created as a means of control in and for that area. And then you get the same kind of thing in Chicago with the gang violence, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not by accident. We all know we know all that. You know, I'm saying we should understand that it's a strategic, deliberate strategy, methodology that's designed to subvert and undermine the rise and the benefit of the people of all those areas. So wherever you have all those areas, the it's just they're carrying out most of them unbeknownst, but then you do have those agents even inside of the gangs that serve the role of whatever CIs, whatever you want to call them. But the goal is the same: keep the community down from rising up, but do it in a way where we can say it ain't us, it's y'all. That's those your children, those your people, those your yeah. When in fact they have been manipulated into that process unbeknownst to themselves. So it's really, 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 really crucial to see that. And you know, another thing is like how many of those programs that, and I know that I understand that maybe we could talk offline because I don't know the quote unquote the local politics side of it, but in terms of local reality, better said, the idea is there's a new Black Panther Party. So I don't know. I'm sure you've had some touch on it or somewhere, so that you can holler back. You know, you can talk to me about it when we talk about it. I'm actually not trying to launch into it right now, but I preface what I'm saying now with that because how many of those programs that were established for those same reasons, survival, what is it, survival prior to revolution, what is it?
Survival pending revolution.
Survival pending revolution. How many of those programs are still needed today, valuable,
All,
useful today?
all of them.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, because if there's somebody not doing them, it doesn't mean that they're not good to do. It's just that the success of the oppressor was to let's just shut down anybody that's trying to do anything like that because we don't want them to stand up. We want to keep them on their knees, right? So no, thank you. I mean, alhamdulillah, we're gonna keep it pushing. So the tradition and the revolution continues. So we'll do our part now. All right, everybody, and let's go on. We're gonna move on to the next piece here. So I actually did a piece with my private group that has a link to, when I say a link, a connection. I don't want to speak in computer terms when I say that. Let me check one thing. My grandchildren are here again. Hold on. Yeah. Close the door. Whatever it is, turn it down and close the door. That's family for you. All right. So okay, we got to start where we are. Uh-oh. My goodness. Okay. All right. Keep on trying. Okay, so where are we? So I talked about, so we have a clear understanding private group for those that are subscribed. It's like what we did do a session which is a continuation of the culture and the instantiation, i.e., the establishment uh, of the term Bilalian. That is things that would have to be done, which basically is the pathway of establishment that happens for all new things. We talked about network effect. I'm avoiding going into that because I'm I quote unquote in this presentation, its purposes is not formally for the establishment of the term Bilalian in its use. That's a larger project, ongoing project. Have other things that's coming. Let me go ahead and let you know. There pins, sweatshirts, T-shirts that we're making up that connects with all that we have said before that. They're just tokens, they're artifacts that support and reinforce the idea. But we know that it's a multi-generational aspect. So we're not going to, overexpend energy in the interest of that specific target. So I am doing and have done some things. Alhamdulillah, we keep it in the family. We got a beautiful logo that has been made that connects with the economics and the history of us in that's coming. And pins also. I've also commissioned and Tyson. I want to get a commission from you for you also, because you've been here seeing it unfold. I've talked to a couple of lyricists, a couple of poets. I'm saying it now just because it just rolls in. You and I talk on another level, but since I'm talking, I want to let you know that I'm also inviting a commission from you, for you. I'm the patron to generate, whether it be a song, poem, song or poem that reinforces the ideas that are substantial, the ideas for which Bilalian is Bilal is the container. So we have the song that we've been opening up with, and that song was back in 1979. But it has its powers, it has its classical role, but we need other things. Like I said, we need poems. We need that information inside of the technology and the aesthetic of the day, right? So I'm commissioning that from those who have that skill set. It's not just everybody got a pen and a piece of paper. I'm talking about someone who can really do it, heart, mind, and soul, and that it be space, time, appropriate. Let's just and I only use that term appropriate because you have to respect the technology that's available, the demographics such as it is, but how do you translate the information into a communication that comes through the medium for or from which our audience takes their information and make it palatable, interesting, attractive to that group that we want that group of people to grasp and appreciate it. And frankly, the aesthetic arts are much more impactful and profound and much more penetrating than just a lecture, or no matter how sound the information is, It still needs to come through a medium. Again, like I said, it could be aesthetic, physical, literal art, visual arts. It could be visual arts. It could be, poetry, music, literature, like straight books, plays, dramatic presentations, movies. These are things that I'm cutting out of this part of the conversation because I did present the essentially what I'm saying to you right now to the a clear understanding private group, and I'm going to fold it into the future complete segment of it. But I've decided on this platform that okay, so we got that for the history, and it relates much more to the concrete strategical acts that need to be done in order to instantiate Bilalian. That's not what I want to use this platform for. But this platform, the main thing is to understand the master narrative and actually to see the divine hand in it. That's also where we're going. Basically, if you want to talk about direction, it's like you're on the main highway now, you're about to take an exit so that you can continue your travel to the main destiny, but there's a little another interchange that we have to go. And so the interchange now, if obligated myself to say, the interchange now is let's start understanding the divine. The divine hand has been involved, but now I'm getting very, very, very specific. And to share also with you my own challenges. I'm talking about Imam Shuaibe's challenges in this particular material. I know it comes across right away like, all right, I got this, and we're doing this, we're doing it. I'm also very aware of the sensitivities that we speak to, that is in the audience of people who know and who don't know who we are. But I am particularly sensitive to people who feel like, oh, I already know what we're about. I already know what it is, and they have this sense, have put this sense of limit on how much you can say about who we are and what we are and where we come from and what it means and its significance and the like. I am very sensitive to that because what I'm speaking to is the edge of what those particular people feel like they already know. Oh, that's been settled. Why are you bringing that up? That kind of thing. It's like it's just I'm comfortable. I have to respect my own spirit, my own nature, my own understanding, and so therefore I don't limit myself in terms of that. But I had to remind myself. The Imam Muhammad rahimahullah, he made a statement in a Ramadan session, one of those key sessions, where he said you have to have the courage to follow the logic to its conclusion. You have to have the courage to follow the logic to its conclusion. See, there's some people who go so far with Imam Wahidi Muhammad, but okay, but when he said that, I was with you until you said that. But if what he has been doing has been logical and plausible and step by step, and I know he does that. That's the way he does it. It's called edification. The way that he does it is, look, I laid this brick down. Is this brick solid? Is that sound? Feel it, touch it. Make sure you feel it's solid. Okay, it's solid. Okay, now here come another brick. And now I put this brick on top, Imam. I put this brick on top of that brick. Since that's true, excuse me, I did bring some water this time. Bismillah. So the Imam effectively said, okay, well, since this brick is solid, let me put another brick on top of that. Because I'm putting this brick on top of that because this brick fits with that brick. This is solid. And that's the way Imam does. He does this, does that, does this, does that. So when the Imam brings it and he comes up to a certain point, there's some people who they go so far, but then that's a little too much. I get it. I understand it. And I understand that fear. I understand that resistance. And understand why there are some who say, well, don't go that far, Fahim. Don't go all the way out there. No, the man, well, he wasn't really talking about that. Yeah. It's like I trust my own following of his thought. If I say I, it's not egoistic. It is what it is. I'm just saying that I trust. Okay, he's given us the logic step by step. Okay, where's the next step? He's gone. Where's the next step? But I'm saying, even in what I'm saying, he's already said what I'm just reinforcing and bringing to attention right now in this connection. So the point is, you have to have the courage to follow the logic to its conclusion. And there's a divine, and has been a divine hand in this whole process. The will of God, the will of the creator of the heavens and the earth, okay, is involved. This whole thing. That's what that we started out speaking from that perspective, uh, and but brought our attention to the historical. Let's just call it the horizontal, the material, the earthly aspects of it. The earthly aspects that brought us to, okay, the solution to it is in, that is the content of the solution you can fit inside of the name Bilal and Bilalian. This is where things get abstract. If you've been with me, then you know, you understand what I mean when I use this term abstract. Abstract, I'm not using abstract in a way, oh man, that's abstract to me. No, I'm not talking. Abstract is truth without details. Abstract is, it's the truth, but you have to, once you abstract it, now you have to unpack it. And when you unpack it, you say, all that was in there? Yeah, all that was in there. And so it goes both ways. It goes inductively, meaning piece, 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 piece. Then you come to a conclusion. Then it goes deductively. Then you take the whole and then you break, and unpack the pieces. And now you go on deductively, taking the whole and breaking it down, inductively taking the pieces and see what they add up to. Okay, so I'm saying we've taken the pieces. What does it add up to? Bilal. It adds up to Bilal. Is that, oh, Negro, negrosis, slavery, experimental clinic, this, that, Africa, Islam, and Africa, Islam, and there's and our history. When you abstract our history, then you say, okay, problem, condition, denigration, dehumanization, loss of identity, culture,